Welcome back. Now, in 2011, our next guest wrote a deeply moving memoir that detailed their shocking experiences of childhood sexual abuse. Their latest book, Why Go Back, offers hope to survivors with a 7-step guide to healing from childhood sexual abuse.
And joining us now are the inspiring women behind the book, Joyce, June and Paula Kavanagh. Before we get into this interview, we should mention that the content of this interview is not suitable for younger ears. Ladies, good morning,
to you.
Ladies. Good morning. It's been a few years, but I was telling Simon, and we were having a chat during the break, that I interviewed you on Ireland AM when the first book, Click Click, came out. Yeah. For anyone joining us this morning, June, I'm going to go to you first. You might give us a background on Click Click and why you came together to write that book and why it was so important.
Well, Click Click took 20 years to write for a start. Now, obviously we weren't writing that entire time. We'd often have to walk away and leave the writing for years at a time sometimes.
Of course.
It was very painful and very traumatic and very difficult to correlate. It was our lives and we were a mess. So it was a nightmare writing it, but we were driven because we knew there was benefit in writing it. We did feel a sense of movement. We had gone through lots of therapy, but we still felt stuck. We didn't feel our lives improved too much. We were unable to integrate any learning we had, but the writing did it for us, and we realised that very quickly. And we had a process, and we still do, where we go off and we write a memory and we come back and we read each other's stuff because you tend to get more reaction, even from yourself, for somebody else's pain.
You might jog another memory, then you go, God, I remember that.
That's one triggers another. But for viewers joining us this morning, you grew up in a house, in a home where your father sexually abused all three of you.
Yeah.
And am I right in saying that each one of you as children didn't know that it was happening to anyone else?
It's difficult to explain to somebody who hasn't lived in a house where abuse exists because there are unwritten rules. Nobody ever tells you. Like, I mean, of course we were threatened not to tell anybody about the abuse.
Of course.
But in terms of us knowing about each other, my father's way of summoning you for to be raped would be to click his fingers. But he'd also click his fingers if he just wanted a cup of tea. So it was acceptable. If he clicked his fingers, nobody knew what it was actually for. Okay. But if you made eye contact, he would nod or indicate for you to go upstairs or to follow him.
And you learned not to nod and not to acknowledge.
And not to look. Yeah. And when we wrote...
So you try and dodge it, understandably.
Yes. But we didn't realise what we were doing, and we certainly, like, I know when it came out, I didn't know that these were abused until we wrote the book and I realised I witnessed him abusing.
And when he clicked, we all said, oh, Jesus, I hope it's somebody else.
I hope it's not me.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
which implied it must be somebody else. And we did know.
There was a part, and it took me back to the initial interview with the three of you that really upsets me, and it's about one of you in your communion dress.
I know, it comes up all the time.
Oh, Paula, it's just... because it's such a special day, and you're so pure.
That's it.
But I have to tell you, the benefits I got out of writing about that particular memory, and as horrific as it was at the time, the gift an abuser gives you is the gift of you taking all the blame and responsibility and the shame for whatever happens. But when I went and wrote that memory in the detail that I had to write it in, as the child writing the memory, it was the first time I really got to see myself as a victim and as innocent and naive as all that goes, and the fact that all I wanted was to be loved. I didn't realise that until I wrote that memory. I didn't accept that I wasn't part of the problem, because the way you're groomed is that you feel like you participate, you take part in, you're responsible for. And if my father was raping you, for instance, you would be sitting there watching, listening for who might come up the stairs or who might come in. So actually you took on, somebody's going to catch me doing something, when I really...
Of course, and you feel a sense of guilt. And there's a huge secrecy around the whole thing, hugely controlling figure quite often, aren't they?
Oh, and I think they all are. I think to have an abuser in your home, it's a really it's like living with, we have described in the new book as it's like Stockholm syndrome. So you align yourself with your abuser. As mad as that might seem, you have to align yourself with the abuser.
It's a
to protect
survival
yourself.
technique.
Yes.
It's a coping mechanism in the hopes that if he likes me, maybe he won't hurt me so much.
But how did it feel then for each of you when you found out that it wasn't just you, that it was not just one sister, but two?
There's a lot more than us, but we can't for legal reasons now.
There's kind of relief in that as well, that you're not the only.
Yeah. And you kind of go
And
through
you
it
can
together
talk
then
about
in
it.
terms
Yeah,
of...
and you weren't that special after all. Because that wasn't. I know it sounds really mad, but you really need to know it wasn't you and it wasn't about you. Because it wasn't about. It didn't really matter who it was, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't
You'd
about
be
us.
convinced there must be a sign. Has to be me.
But initially we were
Because you
so...
do
Something
attract
you're doing
that.
or whatever, yeah.
And initially we were so damaged, we weren't really able to support each other. That came further down the line. The more we healed, we actually found each other in the process. And now we're absolutely kill each other, but we are solid. Like, I don't think there's anything we could do now to separate us. We have absolutely been through.
And we've tried.
Yeah.
And we've tried a lot, yes. But I think there's a strong sense of humour amongst anything else between the three of you. Joyce, your mum was abused by him as well, wasn't she, from a very young age?
Like, she met him when she was 16, 17. And, you know, funny enough, she didn't really like him, but everyone else liked him. And he liked her, so she thought she was special.
He was charismatic.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was, and he was a great speaker. And, you know, he was lively. Like, you wouldn't miss him in a room. So for her, who was really shy and really quiet, to take notice of her, she was delighted. So it wasn't that, you know, even like then she became pregnant and he had somebody else pregnant at the same time, but told her she was really lucky, like he picked her.
Yeah, so that he brainwashed her
Yeah,
completely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So she believed she didn't matter and she didn't count, that she couldn't make a decision without running it by him. And any decision she made, she was told how stupid she was. And she believed it.
Right.
She
was as
actually
much a
told
vixen
us.
as we were.
And in fairness, after she had 10 kids, she had decided, because in Ireland then you just didn't not have kids. That's what your purpose was. When she decided, that's it, I'm absolutely not doing it again. She went to the doctor, got the contraceptive pill. He never touched her physically after that day.
Really?
Because she was no longer a baby
Abused her.
factory. No good to her.
Wow.
So Click Click was about that
Our
experience.
story, our pain, really.
So this new book would it be fair to say it's the story since Click Click in terms of your healing, how you helped each other?
Yeah, that's it.
And how you
It's
can
like-
impart wisdom to people who've been
Yes,
through it.
lots of people asked us, when are we writing another book? And we were going, sure, how can we? That's our life. And
That's
that's
the
it.
story.
We've only
That's
got
it.
one.
Yeah, yeah.
But they wanted it, like it's human nature. You want a map, a black and white, step-by-step programme. How did you get out of it?
You want a guideline.
That's
you want
it.
help.
Yeah. So we said, right, OK, let's do that.
Yeah.
And we were horrified to find how much work we had still yet to do.
Yeah.
We thought we were cured.
Yeah. And also...
The process was a little longer.
The realisation that what was left after we had dealt with the emotional trauma and the devastation of being abused by a parent was the psychological damage. That actually sidetracked us completely. We weren't expecting that. And
We were aware of it. We just thought it was
we
just
didn't know
who
there
we
was...
were.
Yeah, we couldn't identify
We
it.
wouldn't
and-
have identified it with the abuse. We just
Yes.
assumed that's who we are.
That's the person I am.
Yeah, after you've dealt with all the other stuff, well, this must be me.
Right.
And it was horrifying to find out that every element of our development had been tainted, altered and twisted somehow by the experience of abuse. And that we decided that we would document every discovery that we made in terms of our healing. We put together a 7-step programme, so to speak, in the book, where we practically take you by the hand through the process, and you can dip in and out of the book whatever stage you're at in your healing.
Kind of the hope is that people will learn from our mistakes, because it took us this long. So we're kind of hoping that we will cut out some of those
But Paula,
processes.
some people will go through their whole lives and
absolutely.
not
And bring it
arrive
to
at
the
the
grave.
point that you're at now.
Yeah, and that's the sadness, and that's what we want to help eliminate, because it's tragic, because they're innocent. All of the people that have been sexually abused,
Of course.
are perfect. They're innocent.
Absolutely victims.
and they don't deserve it.
But the psychological damage that's done to you,
a lot worse.
there's a big difference, and it's not to demean either of them, between somebody going out and being raped as an adult or a child being groomed and then being raped. Because if you go out and you're raped, you have a before you were raped and after you're raped. So you have to try and find your core before somebody damaged it and then move on. If you're a child and you're raped, you have no core. So you really have to build yourself from
No identity,
right from the get-go. You've nothing that he didn't ruin, destroy, or make.
There was nothing there.
Yeah.
No,
So you have to go back
you
and
grew
then
up with it.
develop a personality and develop.
Start again.
Yeah.
But we
find out who
felt
you are.
that book actually could have saved us years of self-hatred. We would have let ourselves off the hook if we had the information that is in the book, because we felt there was no need for us to actually hate ourselves.
No.
Every single response we had was normal. And not only normal, but it's been researched. We didn't make it up. We just came across it and correlated it together and tied it in. It's already been researched, labelled and attached to sexual abuse victims. So we just put it all into one place, and we felt somehow betrayed that nobody told us about it.
Of course.
Because it's,
Well,
it's out there.
It's unfortunate that there are so many abuse victims in Ireland that there's a huge amount of people who will
Absolutely.
actually benefit from this,
From the
which is
book.
wonderful.
Absolutely.
I know you were on Holly and Philip, and the first Click Click went to
That's
number
right.
1, and your mother found out, they were telling us during the break,
Yeah.
your mother found out that it went to number 1.
Just before she
before she died.
passed.
Before
and
she
yeah.
passed away.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, my mother died with all the shame and guilt and owning the
Yes,
whole
she
lot.
did,
She
yeah.
never got. She
Claimed
never
it,
felt she had a right to actually
Yeah.
get help for herself, and nor did she ever feel she had a right to ever say to anybody how she was
But
feeling.
not just from her own perspective.
No, that's
society.
society helped
Yeah,
that.
there is a reaction to the mothers always. We have to stop vilifying innocent
Yeah.
partners of abusers,
Yeah.
because it's not encouraging anybody to come forward and speak out.
It's the secondary victims,
That's
isn't it,
it.
that you
There's-
talk about.
yes.
The book is out now, Why Go Back? You are 3 of the bravest, most inspirational women we've ever
you
had
for
in this
sharing your
studio.
story.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks
girls.
very much.
Right, stay with us for more Sunday AM after the break. See you.